Hey horror fans, welcome back to another episode of Terror Talk where I discuss creepy clips online. The original horror music that you hear in these videos is composed by me. Now imagine being able to save on everyday expenses and put that money towards your next horror movie outing, spooky decor, or haunted carnival excursion. Be sure to watch all the way through as I have something that will help feed your next horror adventures. Now let's get into it and have some fun.
What I'm about to tell you is the reason why my parents moved out of a house that was in the family for 3 generations. I've struggled with depression most of my life. It's hard for me to shake the feeling of being useless. I'm doing much better now, but when I was a kid, it was horrible. Because of that, I spent a lot of time alone in my room.
Have you ever dealt with depression? I have to a certain extent in the past, and while I'm doing pretty good now, depression and anxiety, they kind of go hand in hand, don't they? I definitely deal with a decent amount of anxiety at times with social situations and things like that. But let me know in the comments below if you've ever dealt with depression. And like I said, I have in the past, and it's really not a fun thing to go through. But, there is help out there if you need it. So, yeah, I like to ask these questions to my viewers to get to know them a little bit. So yeah, let me know in the comments below.
My house was nestled in a very woodsy area. There were trees on 3 sides of it and a forest separating it from any neighbors. My room was pretty big for a bedroom. It was in the back corner of the house, so the windows on 2 walls faced the woods. It was honestly pretty scary for a kid my age. It didn't help that I was also scared of the dark. Things started happening when I was around 10 or so. I was in the 5th grade, and I was at the age where it wasn't acceptable to sleep in my parents' bed after a nightmare, but I was still accused of having an active imagination. The first thing I noticed was my nightlight. It had different color settings, so if I wanted, I could change the LED around. I liked keeping it on red, which is what I fell asleep to most nights. One night, though, I woke up randomly in the middle of the night, which was unusual for me. I was really tired and fell back asleep in under a minute. But before I did, I noticed that my nightlight was a different color than the red I always left on. I didn't think much of it until about a week later. One morning, I woke up and realized my nightlight was once again not set to red like it always was. I asked my parents why they were messing with my nightlight, but they were confused and told me they didn't know what I was talking about. I explained what had happened to them, and they told me that the thing had always been glitchy. They knew best, so I accepted that answer for a while. At least until one morning after waking up to see my nightlight unplugged completely.
Isn't it just like parents to just blow things off like that? I feel like parents do that way more than they should because, maybe in a situation like this, it's not that out there in terms of what's happening with the light being a different color. But at the same time, I feel like parents in general need to be a little bit more, need to include their kids' lives a little bit more into what they're doing and actually listen to them. Because I feel like just so much goes on where it just they just brush things off and they're not taking their child's mental and emotional health seriously. And that can have long-lasting, damaging effects. And that's just my opinion. So.
It was just sitting there on the floor. Once again, my parents dismissed my concern and told me my brain should be focused on school. My dad said I was getting too old for a nightlight anyway. A few days later, my nightlight was missing completely. It had seemingly evaporated out of existence. Now I knew my parents were lying to me. They probably thought I should have outgrown the nightlight by then and took matters into their own hands. This incident caused a massive fight between them and I since both of us accused the other of hiding it, and neither of us was budging. I couldn't believe my parents would blatantly lie to me about something like this, but there was nothing I could do. After that, things went back to normal for a week. That didn't last long though. 3 nights in a row, I woke up randomly in the middle of the night. Each time, I had no idea what was waking me up. After it happened a 4th time in a row, I told my parents. They told me that I was going through puberty and that changes to my body are natural. The next time it happened, I stayed awake instead of falling back asleep. A few minutes after I woke up, I heard faint rustling noises from my closet. My parents didn't believe me. My dad even checked my closet, and there was nothing in there besides old toys and posters. The next 4 days remained the most traumatizing nights I've ever experienced in my life. I'd been woken up only to hear rustling in my closet. It was torture. I couldn't take it anymore. I begged my parents to believe me, and my dad got angry. He dragged me to my closet to prove there was nothing in there. He started throwing toys around my room, clearing the closet bit by bit, yelling at me the whole time. That is, until he pulled one of the posters off the wall. My mother and father stared in horror at the massive hole in the wall the posters had concealed. My mom started screaming, and my dad pulled out a flashlight. The hole was way too deep to see where it led.
That is so creepy, isn't it? To just find a massive hole like that in your closet. And honestly, this whole situation really pisses me off too, because these parents are just, they just seem kind of like assholes. Like, they don't seem like they listen to their kid that much. And they should. They should have, because this has been going on. And for the dad to just get that angry and like start throwing things across the room like that. I mean, I know parents are, they're not saints. Like, while I get along with my parents pretty well, like, I've definitely had issues with my parents over the years about certain things. But I just think that this situation with these parents and this kid is just like absolutely ridiculous for the dad to get that mad. And I just think parents need to really just cool it a little bit and not get so angry and actually listen to what their kids have to say instead of just being assholes like this, because now they're seeing that they've been wrong. So those are just my thoughts. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my take on things. I would like to know.
So my dad ran outside and began inspecting the outside of the house. There was a tiny hole in the dirt at the base of the house, and a little digging revealed that it was more than a divot. There was literally a passageway from the woods to my room. My mom and I were out of the house that night to my aunt's house. We moved out shortly after this. I stayed at my aunt's house until we did. I don't like thinking about this experience, but I'm going to have to face it eventually. My parents also refused to talk about this incident, and I think it's partly because they feel some blame for not taking me seriously. It's chilling to think that there was a strange.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. You just basically put your kid through trauma. Like, ugh. It just makes me so angry about how these parents handled this situation.
In my room every night for over a month. I have no idea what they wanted, and will probably never know. If your kids come to you with something that sounds abnormal, believe them.
Yeah, this was definitely a creepy story, and I like the message at the end there about telling parents to believe their kids. That's kind of my rant in this video. But yeah, I just feel like so many parents are just not great parents these days. And like, I feel like I have really good parents, so I guess I got fortunate, even though we have, definitely had our issues in the past with things. But I just feel like parents need to listen to their kids more. But either way, I thought this was a really creepy story. And I hope you enjoyed the music and the commentary. And I will see you in the next video.